Hello from Southern California. This is Dr. Tom Peters, and I prepared a mock dissertation proposal for you with mistakes that students quite easily make and submit their dissertation proposal, which would be rejected. So I would like you to understand those areas where you can go wrong. I want you to follow your dissertation manual when you prepare your dissertation proposal. Your university gave you a manual, a dissertation manual, and I want to tell you that it's about outcome goals. That's what you have to have in your dissertation to meet the university's expectations. This presentation is focused primarily on North Central University students because this template follows the expectations of North Central University, but you will be able to learn from this because the areas where students go wrong is going to be highlighted. And I'm going to cover a lot of material in this PowerPoint presentation, so I'm not going to be able to present everything in one video, but I will upload each and every video in consecutive order. And I selected a research topic that is really popular among students. In this presentation, the general research area is veterans or service members and suicidal ideation. I intentionally selected this area to help students understand that this is an overlapping area. When you select service members, when you want to work with service members in your dissertation, that dissertation could become a dissertation in organizational management, industrial organizational psychology, or clinical psychology, and I would like to tell you the difference, those areas where these dissertations differ. Okay, let's go to the next slide. How do you find a good research topic? Well, when you read research articles, there is a future research section where it is identified what research is necessary to understand, to better understand a particular topic. And I found one article which is cited in this slide, and the future research, the call for future research is this: future work examining whether any specific experiences are associated with suicide attempts or death would have obvious clinical value. Now, it sounds like the call for future research is for clinical psychology. However, this call for research would be good for organizational management or industrial organizational psychology too. It's really broad. We don't really know if the author meant comparing different troops such as Army, Navy, Marine Corps. What about the role in combat? How about service members such as privates and lieutenants, corporals, sergeants? Are their experiences the same or different? Does the rank have any connection with suicidal ideation? Are privates more likely to commit suicide than corporals? Would be one angle. Also, how about witnessing death in your own troop, witnessing death in the enemy troop? How about the success of the mission? Does it make a difference if the mission was successful and people died versus the mission was not successful and people died? And also, as I said earlier, what about active duty service members and veterans? Now, this research could become a study in organizational management. If you look at the structure of any organization and the job description or the expectations towards workers or service members in the Army, Navy, or Marine Corps, there are different expectations towards non-commissioned officers and towards soldiers like privates, and that could mean a lot of different issues for these people who enter combat. But when you take a dissertation to organizational management, everything in the literature review has to be about organizational management and how that would influence the lives of these service members. Also, if you compared veterans who experienced suicidal ideation after combat to a group of depressed people who were never enlisted, would there be a difference? However, this would be more like a clinical psychology type study. How about industrial organizational psychology? Industrial organizational psychology is about groups. Now, how is it different when you compare two groups that I just mentioned? For instance, a group of suicidal people who never enlisted and suicidal veterans. And what is the group level issue in industrial organizational psychology? Well, how does the organization and the expectations affect lieutenants, non-commissioned officers, and privates as a group, comparing the Navy to the Marine Corps? That kind of group comparison would be part of research in an industrial organizational psychology type dissertation, and in this particular case the group factor is emphasized in the literature review. Every dissertation has to have a problem statement. Suicide rates are consistently high in the US. You can check the CDC website, research articles. It has been high in the last 10 years. This is a broad area, and your university might require you to open the problem statement with a very large problem area such as this one, and then it's followed by a more focused areas such as several service members had suicidal ideation after combat. Citation is necessary. Now, why is the research necessary? High suicide rates among service members have to be addressed in research as an attempt to decrease the high suicide rates in the U.S. So this third statement refers to the large problem area and why the research that you are planning is necessary. Problem statement continued. Some authors believe that previous suicide attempts might increase the risk of suicide in servicemen. This has to be cited, and I use articles in subsequent slides where this issue comes up. But others believe that exposure to death in combat could lead to suicide. Citation is needed. Lack of understanding of the causes of suicide in service members prevents stakeholders from taking corrective actions, and suicide rates in the U.S. will remain high. Citation is needed. Who are the stakeholders? The stakeholders could be officers in the Army, Navy, or therapists at the Veterans Administration, program directors at the Veterans Administration, and other mental health professionals in private setting or county mental health settings. The problem statement continued. Information about the causes of suicide in service members is needed to inform stakeholders about corrective actions that lead to decreased suicide rates. So what actions do they have to take to prevent soldiers from killing themselves, and that would contribute to decreasing suicide rates in the entire country? Purpose statement. This is the purpose of the study. The first sentence is the same as the last sentence of the problem statement. the following sentence is, it is not completely understood if previous experience with death or suicide lead to suicidal ideation. We know that there is a causational connection, but it's not completely understood because, as I said, the experiences of Army officers could be very different from Marine Corps officers, and the privates in the Army could have different experiences compared to sailors in the Navy. Purpose statement continued. The purpose of this causal comparative research is to identify the connection between service member rank, corporal, and private and suicidal ideation after combat where they witnessed death. So I'm going to follow this path in subsequent slides leading up to a causal comparative quasi-experimental research in organizational psychology, and I'm proposing to compare non-commissioned officers and privates who experience the same combat situation, who went to the same combat together. So this would require that all research participants, let's say 60 corporals and 60 privates, were involved in the same mission. And with this, I'm going to conclude the first video of this PowerPoint presentation.